Hello, this is Jess, and I'm going to be doing our chat session number 24 on November 24th, 2017. And still adjusting the camera a little bit, sorry about that. We're going to go right into the tidbits of history. We're going to go to 1859. On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection, a groundbreaking scientific work by British naturalist Charles Darwin is published in England. Darwin's theory argued that organisms gradually evolved through a process he called natural selection. In natural selection, organisms with genetic variations that suit their environment tend to propagate more descendants than organisms of the same species that lack the variations, thus influencing the overall genetic makeup of the species. And his grandfather actually studied this before him, and there was a couple of other people that were involved over the years in the study of genetic evolution or natural selection. And up until he published it, he tossed it around all the time because it went against the biblical principles of creation. But in his studies, he didn't just go out and make stuff up. He went to all different parts of the world, and the Galapagos Islands in particular, where he studied the different organisms and creatures that were alive in those areas. And this is where he got most of his information from, was actually field study. So it was an interesting piece of work, but like I said, when it came out, people were calling it heresy and against God and all these things, and we've changed a little bit since then. But that's what people do that reach out and don't accept the norms. So that's what Darwin did. And he took the chance, and like I said, for a large part of his life after this, he was viewed as a heretic. But in his death, or when he died, he actually was buried by the kings and queens and stuff, because it had become more universally accepted by the time he passed away. All right, on to the next piece of history. 1960. Philadelphia Warrior Wilt Chamberlain snags 55 rebounds in a game against the Boston Celtics and sets an NBA record for the most rebounds in a single game. This would be one of 70 records that Wilt the Stilt, or the Big Dipper, nicknames for Chamberlain, would break in his 14-year career. He was second in all-time points with 31,419 points. He was second to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who played 6 seasons more than Chamberlain. At one point in his career, the coach asked him not to shoot so much, but to pass the ball around, and he broke records in assists after that, during that kind of stuff. And he was so good at basketball that they had to make new rules to make it fair for the other players. And one of those rules was the distance of the free throw, and it was put in place so that he couldn't run up there and dunk his free throws. He was a pretty amazing player, and I guess he took the basketball, the professional basketball, to a whole new level. Now, for me, I don't watch a lot of basketball, but these records that he did set seem pretty impressive, and most of them still stand today. Of course, I'm more familiar with players like Michael Jordan, stuff like that, or I can't think of his name now. He played for the Celtics. Larry Bird. Those are the players that I'm more familiar with. But I know who Wilt Chamberlain was, but I didn't know but he was pretty awesome. Pretty good basketball player for his time, and for even now. Like I said, most of his records still hold today. All right, now we're done with that. We're gonna just talk about a few things. Thanksgiving was yesterday, and we had the works here. We had a nice gathering. My daughter Erica and her, I'm not sure exactly, her ex-husband or her, I believe they're divorced now. He came with her, and my other daughter Alex and Israel and Aiden, the grandson, came, and Anita's dad and her stepmom also came, Carl and Bonnie. So we had a great get together. We watched a little football, and I was pretty disappointed in our, I hope I don't get in trouble for this, but Dish Network. For some reason they decided to let, or I don't know, what CBS was taken off of our viewing list, and that's where the Cowboy game was, so I was not able to see the Cowboy game. Now they lost. My picks were wrong, but I still would have liked to have seen it. So I'm sort of upset with Dish Network over that. But what do you do? Things happen. But I do want to look into that and find out why I didn't have CBS. That was pretty upsetting at the time. But it didn't ruin nothing. But it's just football. But at the same time, keep it in perspective. I should have been able to watch the game. Carl was disappointed too. They're from Arizona, but he wanted to see the Cowboy game. But anyway, that being said, over 8, but at the same time, not like normal. I actually didn't become so sick or so full that I couldn't move, but I was stuffed. The food was good. Everybody contributed to the meal in some way. Anita worked till 12 and came home and threw in the oven the final bits of the meal, and Alex brought the stuffing, and they had pies. We had apple, cherry, and pecan pie, and for some reason a pumpkin pie wasn't made, but I think Alex made it today. I haven't had a piece yet, but we had plenty of desserts, and we had a good time. So I'm glad that happened, and hope everybody else had a nice Thanksgiving Day. And now I'd like to call the attention to our national politics. I still feel that Jeff Sessions shouldn't have any authority in the law side of stuff, being that he continued to lie or conveniently not remember events that the committees that he was in front of were asking him concerning the Russian involvement in our last election. That's not important to me. What's important to me is that he lied under oath and said that he had no memory or no recollection of things, but it's come out that he was involved in 2 or 3 different meetings with the Russians, and the whole thing of being allowed to make false statements and then actually get the position, that shows a flaw in our whole democratic system of our government. I mean, if they can do it on the top level, they can, that's going to pass down to every political entity that's in our country, from the smallest to the biggest. I think that there has to be some kind of integrity within that office if they're going to pass laws to control or contain citizens. I think they should at least be honest. I think that should be a requirement. I mean, I'm not talking about some position where he's going to go out and look at plant life or something like that, some kind of biologist, even though you need to be honest in that field too. I'm just saying that the position that Jeff Sessions is in should hold that bit of honesty to a very, very, very high standard. And I just don't care for the man. I think he's arrogant. I think he feels like he's a deserving person in the position that he did get, and from being a senator. I think his view on the people that he is now over with this law stuff, I think he has no regard for the things that he wants to pass and how they would affect me or anyone else in the United States as citizens. I think he should be ousted from his position. Now, I have that right to say that. I live in this country that's, freedom to express my feelings. But he's also, Jeff Sessions, I heard something about him saying that he's not against making some new laws and regulations concerning journalists and being able to arrest them for what they say or what they do in their writings. And I think that's totally against what our government was established for. The freedom of the press, one of the most essential freedoms that are in a society like ours. If he wants to shut down the journalist for being able to tell the truth about issues and to give their opinions on things, then I think we lose a big step in our democratic society. But all right, I've talked about that more than I wanted to. I thought that Jeff Sessions would already be done by now in his position. But I'm just going to continually, over time, just bring it up and not let it die, at least not in my scenario here. I think that he should be ousted from his position. I don't even know the man, but I do know what he says on TV and his interviews and the different things he's against and the things that he wants to pass. I think he shouldn't have any say-so unless he learns how to tell the truth, but that's too late. He lied under oath, and I think he should be ousted from his position. All right, well, we're going to go right into our ending here. So here we are. Just be truthful, be happy, and let's look out for each other, okay? It is Friday. It is 10 minutes till 12 midnight, so I just barely got this in on time. I enjoy this. I think it's good for my mental state. I got a lot of things in my mind, but this is part that I can just make a video and say, hey, it's me. So that's why I do this. If somebody's watched them all the way through, that's fantastic. Thumbs up to you. I appreciate it. And just want to say happy Friday. Holidays are here. Have a great rest of Friday and early morning Saturday. Go Seattle.